an unloaded firearm, and I will be handling it. Anyway, this is a P365XL. A couple modifications I did to it. I stippled it myself. I don't know how good the focus is going to pick up on it. It's not the greatest job, but cool thing about the P365 is the frames are interchangeable, so you can actually change them without needing to get a new firearm, because the frame isn't the serialized part, the fire control group is. So that's a really neat feature. If you want to practice stippling, this is a really good firearm to do it, because the frames are cheap. So if you screw it up, just buy a new one. This is the factory flat face trigger that comes in it. I'll talk about that later. This is a tactical development rail to adapt the P365 standard proprietary rail that only fits complete garbage lights. There is the Foxtrot, the TLR6, and the new Surefiring offering for it, which are all garbage, expensive trash. They're both like 100 or 150 lumens, the Surefire the Streamlight and the Sig offering, and they're complete trash. And then the Surefire offering is 350 lumens for quadruple the price of this. This is a 500 lumen light. This is a TLR7. Very good tactile switches, simple, easy CR123 switch. The rail wasn't very expensive from tactical development, and a lot of people are going to ask, well, how do you carry it? And this is all this proprietary shit. TXC Holsters, a phenomenal holster company, makes a holster compatible for this setup. Very quick turnaround, very comfortable holsters. Highly recommend them. And frankly, if they made one for my Roland P10C, I absolutely would use it. But they currently don't have P10C with an X300 offering. Hint, hint. That would be dope if you guys offered that. On top here, I do have the Sig night sights that came with the gun, and I took their back plate off and simply popped on a 507K. Screws are included with the 507K to install it. Nothing complicated, super simple. They even have their Loctite already on the screws for the micro red dots. So literally, you take it off. You take the slide off the gun, undo the screws from the bottom, throw this side on, tighten it at the top. There is a built-in rear sight aperture. Again, I'm going to point at myself, but the firearm is clear. And there is a rear sight aperture. I'm not really going to be able to show you the dot, unfortunately. I would have to get a little bit different camera angle so the focus doesn't give you an aneurysm. But I will say this, there is 3 different dot options. There is a segmented circle, which is circle kind of cut up with the EOTech style reticle. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. You can simply Google the 507K reticle. And then there's that as oil with the dot, and then there's just a simple dot. When purchasing this, I was really excited about that. I figured, for a carry gun, I want as fast as possible, and I want as much, oh crap, I'm out of the way, I don't know where my dot is. So I figured I'd use a segmented circle on the dot. I got to the range. I put quite a bit of ammo down range with this on a couple of different days, and turns out it just slows me down. It's really weird to say. I saw some of the YouTubers say that. I'm like, that's crap. I want as much as I can in the screen. Just line it up and shoot. It turns out that really it is distracting to me. It's really weird to say. You think having more in there and having that EOTech style reticle would speed things up, kind of like it does with a rifle per se. But even with a rifle, I'm not a huge fan. I like the dot, point, and shoot. Don't really need to think about it. For the distances you're going to be shooting a defensive handgun, holdovers are important per se, but not as important as you would think. And I'm able to get accurate hits out to 25 to 30 yards with this. Past that, I struggle a bit, but again, I'm not the best pistol shooter. But that's a lot for this little carry gun. I used to carry a P10C. I still do from time to time. It's a lot bigger of a firearm. This, though, is 12 plus 1, so this is 13 rounds, whereas the P10C is 15 plus 1, so 16 rounds. So I lose 3 rounds per se, but I also have the ability to carry a backup of the 15 round magazine. So it really, there is a couple rounds I lose by carrying this, but comfort level is just dramatically larger. It's just so much easier. I can wear this with a very tight shirt. Concealability is phenomenal. Comfort is the main thing to me. You're going to carry your gun thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times, and for the most of us will never ever use it ever, and it's just going to carry. So carry really is something that is an important factor that no one ever talks about. Everyone carries a bazooka, a full med kit, a knife, a hatchet, and a hacksaw on their belt, and unfortunately, to me, I actually like to be comfortable, and I have this weird metric of if I'm not comfortable, I become a grouchy bitch. So this really helped me to be less of a grouchy bitch when I was carrying a firearm with you know, a tighter pair of jeans or something like that. And it's extremely comfortable as well as being extremely shootable. I did texture the grip, like I said before. It's called stippling. I burnt the grip a bit. Very simple pattern. I can actually do a video on this if you guys are curious. It's not really the prettiest, but it's there. And as well as it does have this beautiful beveled magazine. I don't have unloaded magazines with me today, so I'm not going to show you shoving them in, but it is phenomenal. The reloads on this are significantly better than the P365. Significantly. But yeah, I carried the original P365 for a while. I did not like it. I had a lot of issues with mine. Not reliability per se. I did have a couple weird reliability issues with that. I have had one or two with this, and I'll mention that. But my main issue with the P365 is, again, I carry this appendix. I tried carrying the 365 pocket. It's just, it's too unwieldy. It's too heavy. It really doesn't, it sits in between two places. So pocket gun, it's not. It's too heavy. It's too bulky. You can't really carry it in the pocket. And appendix gun, it's just too damn small. You want to have a full grip. Become such a better shooter with this, and it's still completely concealable. It really, you can tell that they engineered this for the average size hand to be able to easily get a full grip, like you can see on here. My pinky barely feels like it's you know, touching the bottom, and it's just really a full grip. Whereas with the 365, you had to put those extenders on there to get the 12-round magazine. Problem was when you reload, you lost that. Your pinky would hang, and you got to sit there and jam it in. I did not like the reloads, and I did not find it was as comfortable having that gap in between the extension and this. Whereas this gun really is where I think it should have been the whole time. It's phenomenal. As well as it having the longer slide is giving you both a longer barrel to be able to stabilize heavier ammunition like 147 grain that the 365 really didn't do that well with. As well as it has a new recoil system inside here that is, in my opinion, a world of difference. The 365 definitely is more snappy. This has a the full slide actually has, it's not the same recoil system as the 365. It actually goes along the full slide, and it has a dual recoil system to help mitigate some of that snap that these micro guns generally have. Whereas this one, it definitely is snappier than if you're used to like a compact lock or whatever it may be, but it's not really that bad. But yeah, it really is a marked improvement over the 365. I wasn't really a believer until I shot one, and then I bought one. I will say, if you're going to purchase these, if you are military, like me, a retiree, active duty, law enforcement, or first responder, you can actually purchase this with SIG's military program. A lot of people don't know this. SIG, CZ, Glock, pretty much every Tavor, IWI, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, pretty much every major firearms company, if you message them, they do have a similar program to the Glock Blue Label program. Just not as well advertised as Glock's is. But yeah, I bought this from Sig direct, or not direct, I bought it from, it's a company called Holosun. But yeah, I got it for an extremely good price with my credentials, and that was awesome. So I really appreciate that, and I just figured I'd spread that word that you can get these a lot cheaper than retail or price gouging on Arms List. And even during the pandemic, I was able to purchase this and have it shipped direct to me, or direct to my FFL. I don't have my SOT yet. More to come. Getting down on the controls of this, again, I spoke earlier of the beveled magwell. Very good reloads. I'll get some footage later on of me shooting this at the range. Again, I'm not your expert shooter. I'm pretty average, but I can shoot this about as good as I shoot any of my other striker fire guns. Very, very similar, and I think if I get more time around this, it'll probably be exactly the same. Magazine release, I get why it's small for a concealed carry gun. It's not terribly small. It's there. You can feel it. You're good. You don't really have to break grip. I think it's in a really good location. A little bit bigger would be cool, but very, very functional and very good. Another thing I like is the slide lock, slide release. With the normal 365, there wasn't this pronounced beaver tail, and you know, like anyone who grew up on the Glocks or 1911s and all that, you learn to get as high on the gun as possible to kind of get in line with that bore access. So with that said, it's really easy to get your thumb right here on the slide lock side release. So I really do have to consciously put my dominant hand's thumb down, point it down, or kind of on top of my other thumb while I'm shooting in order not to hit this by accident. I will say it's a lot harder to hit, and it feels like the spring's a little bit more sprung on it, because with the 365, the traditional one, I wish I had one to compare it to, but I was hitting that all the time. I really don't know. Maybe I just developed as a shooter, but that location, it's a really good location. It's there where you can reach it and actuate it, and actually use it as a slide release, but it's also in a location that's not really in the way. Takedown, again, you can see me, I'm pulling the trigger when I'm trying to take it down, but you don't have to pull the trigger, you just simply lock the slide back and roll the takedown lever down. It's a lot safer of a method for the Neanderthals that leave ammunition in their firearm and don't check the barrel prior to handling and or clearing it. But yeah, that's awesome. Let me get down to the worst point of this gun, and that absolutely, hands down, is this freaking trigger. The flat face trigger is very, very nice aesthetically, and it does help you get down low. I've heard complaints about people saying that they can't fit gloves in here. I don't have that big of an issue, but I don't really carry massive thick gloves, and for the most part I just use my pockets even when it gets well below freezing here. But when I was wearing gloves, the couple times I was shooting this, I just wore like mechanic types gloves and I didn't have an issue. But with thicker gloves, I could imagine with this flat face trigger being kicked forward so much, having a bit of an issue with the trigger guard. But for me, it's not a non-issue. I like being able to get lower on it, and that's the whole point of the flat face trigger, is the lower you are on it, the more leverage you have to help release that sear, and the perceived less trigger pull you will have, although on paper it'll be the same. But when you have more leverage, it is less pulling that your finger needs to do. So it does still need, you know, the 4.5 to 5 pounds pulled on it, although your actual leveraging surface doesn't have to put as much pressure to reach that give point. Anyway, enough physics for the day. The trigger on this, you can see, has a ton of take-up for a striker fire gun. Most of my CZs in double action have about this much take-up. Again, I am spoiled by the Czech masterpieces that I own. So it has quite a bit of take-up, and if you can see here, again, there's just no freaking wall. There's pressure here, pressure here, pressure, 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 pressure. Is this a wall? No, it wasn't the wall. And then the reset again. Okay, where's the wall? 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 Where? Oh, it reset. And I guess I'm back on the wall here. No, I'm not. It's not breaking. It's not breaking. It's not breaking. It's mushing, mushing. It's going back. It's not breaking. Very hard for me to show. I'm seeing on video what you guys are seeing. It looks good on video. In actuality and in practice, if you're used to those really good, you know, ZEV triggers, or you have a CZ and you have any CZ gun ever created ever, you have a good understanding of what a good trigger is. Pretty much any AR trigger. I mean, I would equate this to being worse than a mil-spec AR trigger. Again, it really has a lot of mush. The weight on it's not that bad. It's like 4.5 to 5 pounds. I'm sure it'll lighten up a bit as I shoot it more. Might be more than that, actually. I don't know. I don't have a trigger pull gauge, but it doesn't feel heavy to me. I understand that they're not going to really put, I usually have like a 3.5 pound trigger in there in my carry guns, but they, for the most part, for factory triggers and carry guns, they put heavier triggers in there because, again, they have this ideology and thing coming out of the military contracts or whatever it may be, that a heavier trigger is a safety function because people in stressful situations will have their finger on the trigger. Or I really don't understand the concept myself. Again, finger placement is your safety. And in high stress situations, I guess they don't want people to accidentally pull the trigger. It's another topic for another time. But they put heavier triggers in these so people don't accidentally pull the trigger. I guess. But yeah, it's decent weight for what it is for a factory trigger. I would like to see more aftermarket offerings for this because I think there's a lot of room to improve this trigger. It's the same thing with the P320. That's really one of my only main complaints with it. The bore axis is really an overstated thing. I don't think it shoots poorly. but on pretty much all of Sig's striker fire handguns. With the exception of the X5, they did a decent job improving it, but it's still, it's nowhere as good as a lot of the other offerings. You look at Walther and CZ and even the newer Glocks, they kick the shit out of this trigger. And that's really my only and main complaint with this gun is I think if they improve that mushiness on the trigger, this would be just a perfect little firearm here. And I hope the aftermarket comes in and kicks that out. Some other things I didn't talk about yet. The included night sights on this, if you get the Streamlight night sights, I think they're really good. It's a really positive circle in the front, really easy to acquire. Low profile, but still does marry up with this 507K's rear sight, and it just does an excellent job as a backup iron sight, with my primary being the dot. Does a good job. I'm usually not a big fan of night sights. I prefer blacked out ones because I usually use red dots and I find they get in the way. Whereas this one, it doesn't really distract me as much as some of the other offerings, but at the same time when I need to use it, I find it very fast and accurate. Loaded chamber indicator is right here at the top, so you can just look down into it. I like that a lot. Although it's completely useless at night, which is the majority of the time. You're going to be putting this in is, at least for me, you know, when I put this firearm in, it's usually dark when I'm going out and doing stuff, either early morning or late night, just so happens to be me. And this loaded chamber indicator cutout is completely useless in every way, so I still find myself doing press checks. I wish they would just utilize the actual loaded chamber indicator that most other companies do, whereas they just throw it on the actual extractor itself and you can rub your finger in order to feel, so you don't have to do a press check. That's just me. It's a little gripe, not that big a deal. Frankly, even my guns that do have this, I still find myself doing a press check every single time. Another gripe with this gun, I would say, is the cost of magazines is very high. I think if you're going to be shooting, if you're going to be carrying a gun, you're going to want to shoot it quite often, at least once a month. Obviously, with the ammunition shortages that we currently have, it's not really practical for most people that don't earn a lot of money or want to spend a lot of money on what they perceive as a hobby, whereas me is a lifestyle. But anyway, these magazines are like $50 a pop, 45, 50 bucks. When you factor in tax and shipping, they're expensive. I understand that Sig needs to make money somewhere, and they have to pay for all their lawsuits for their failing firearms, like the Cross. I'm just kidding, Sig. You make really good guns, and I understand that innovation does come at a cost, and pretty much every major firearm in all of history that has released had issues with their first batch, so I need people to understand that. The idiot reporting this so happened to corrupt the rest of the video, so again, this is kind of my first one I'm actually giving somewhat an effort about. Anyway, I pretty much said everything prior to this that I needed to say. TLDR, it's a really solid gun. I think it's going to be my new carry gun pretty much year round, and all the gripes I had with the 365 were pretty much fixed with this and the addition of this tactical development rail. If you guys want any more information about any of the stuff listed here, leave a comment, and if I have some time, I will go ahead and make videos. I'm probably going to do some video of shooting. I have a lot of other guns, some really cool stuff, some milsurp, some unique ones. I kind of want to do some videos on, and when I have free time, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Appreciate if you just drop a like and subscribe and let me know what you want to see. I have quite a bit of stuff. Never really thought of this, but some of the other videos got some traction, so I figured I might as well make some other and just answer some questions that people had. And again, I appreciate your time, and I talk a lot, don't I? See you guys in the next one. Barometric pressure 30.00 and is rising, and no precipitation. We're about a half-inch behind, correction, a half-inch ahead for the year, and 1 53/100 behind for the year so far. We'll be looking for a little bit of a change tomorrow, and of course the possibility of some scattered showers. Today, of course, there's nothing showing up on the radar. However, the satellite photo was pretty interesting for the western half of the U.S. Rain showers and thunder showers along that frontal system, and that wide band of fairly heavy snows. Now, what will happen each time that you see the frontal system on there? That begins at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you'll see the cloud pattern move until 2 o'clock this afternoon.